Does anyone have a question?
I have a question, Stuart.
That's,
Stuart, would you please talk about when a loved one is suffering, how to best serve them and be detached at the same time?
uh, not easy.
Yeah.
Look, Chris, the best thing you can do for a loved one, whether they're sick or they're not sick, is to just love them unconditionally. Be there for them, love them. Don't get swept away in the drama, the soap opera. Enough people will be swept away in the soap opera that you don't have to be part of it. Just love the person and understand, look, every one of us, we're born, we have a certain lifespan, and we leave. When we're born, it's joy, it's love, it's happiness, it's this cute little thing that everybody wants to hug. And when we die, everybody is moaning, lamenting, and complaining as if, you know, death, doesn't occur. And it's just something that only happens in the immediate vicinity of one's family or friends. You got to love people unconditionally and not get swept away in the soap opera, in the drama, in the lamenting, in the all the crying. I mean, I've been to enough funerals, to have enough crying to, last me the rest of my life. The people that were there, and look, basically, they're going on vacation.
Yeah.
It's really what it amounts to. They've spent this karma and they're going on vacation. And the letting go creates more suffering than anything else. Holding on. I remember, it happened to me years ago. There was a student of mine who had AIDS, and he was very sick. And when I was living up in Woodstock, he was in a hospital in Kingston, and I went to visit him. And he was lying in bed. He couldn't move. His whole body was covered with scabs. He had that sarcasi sarcoma, whatever it's called. And
Purpose.
and uh, and I was sitting there with him, and I said to him, "Why don't you just let go? You're going to come back your next life. You're going to be a beautiful baby. Everything you've learned about spiritual practice, you're going to bring with you into your next incarnation. Let go." And the next day he let go. And he was lying in bed and he just shook his head and said, yes. I mean, people suffer for endless amounts of time. And most of it has to do with the inability to let go. They're so afraid of dying because they've never really lived. If you really live and become a happy person, there is no fear of dying. Because you discover life and death do a dance that are essential for the evolution of the human soul. And it's not a time of drama. It should be a Guru always told me, he said, look, when I leave here, don't cry about me, don't lament. Take joy that I'm finally with God. don't, don't lament.
Yeah.
It was the same thing with this man who was sick. And I've seen it over and over again that most of the last month, 2 months of a person's life has to do with not wanting to let go. And one has to have compassion for people because most people have no spiritual training. Most people are scared of the unknown, that born from no traveler ever returns, Shakespeare, from whose
Mm.
born no traveler ever returns. Most people are completely paranoid, frightened about the unknown. They don't know how to deal with it, only because they didn't know how to deal with it in their life.
Oh,
They didn't ever learn to let go in their life.
mhm.
And if you learn to let go while you're alive, if you learn to live with an open heart, if you learn to have compassion and gratitude for life, understand death is never a problem.
That's
It's
great. Thank
never
you.
a problem. And the problem with all the drama, Chris, is people, they never got any training in this life,
Mm,
spiritual training. And they just lived with the assumption that all of this stuff was going to go on forever.
yeah.
And it doesn't. Does anybody raise your hand if you lived you're sitting here and you were born in the 17th century.
Right.
Let's see, one hand in the air. It's as organic as living. And really, Chris, the drama and the suffering comes from people. Uh, Emmy, please, you got to sit still because if you're moving, it disrupts the energy of the class. Uh, the drama that you experience in that situation comes from the person who is dying, who never truly found deep joy and happiness in their life.
Mhm.
And the people around them usually are in the same boat. So there's all of this not letting go,
Yeah.
not rejoicing in the fact that somebody can be with God,
And free. Yeah.
having to hold on to them. And I think this is something we all have to learn because there isn't anybody alive that doesn't go through this. The quality of dying is based on the quality of living. I mean that. And if one has joy and love and unconditional love and lives their life that way, one doesn't spend their life holding on to every little stupid thing, that represents what they think is security. And one day it's all just wiped out. And they're clutching to what is an illusion. What's real is the soul's evolution, the dance that life and death do together that helps the soul to evolve.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Chris. I mean, it's a very important question, Chris, because everybody goes through this. Everybody. We have, parents that have died. We have friends, relatives, people, and and it's a serious problem because the most people have never learned to live.
Mhm.
They're more frightened of life. I should say they're just as frightened of living as they are of dying.
Mhm.
So people just hanging on to what was. And both living and dying are sacred.
Yeah.
And both of them have to do with the evolution of the soul to finally become one with higher energy in the universe. I don't know how else to put it. Does anyone else have a question? If one's life becomes sacred, if everything around you is sacred, if everything around you brings joy, brings love, even the difficult things, the tensions from people, if you learn how to allow them to be your teacher, understand everything becomes sacred. Everything is God's world, teaching you and the soul that exists inside you, how to become one with higher energy in the universe. Then there's no more death. It's life and death. It's just the soul evolving. I used to work with a lot of people that were very sick. I don't do that any. I do work with people that are sick, but I do it if they want to use the sickness, the illness, to develop a spiritual life. Because to interfere with death is to interfere with the job of God. Is to interfere with God, the evolution of the soul. If a person wants to use it to build a spiritual life inside themselves, then it's an extraordinary tool they can use. And they will most likely heal themselves. So they have that extra time here to continue to build the connection between the soul and higher energy of the universe. And if not, they go on and they reincarnated. They go to the bardo, wherever they go, depending on the religion, and get prepared for the next incarnation. Does anyone else have a question they would like? Just like yourself, love your life, find joy.
Yeah.
Let even the difficult people tickle your heart. I was going to make a T-shirt. I like people I don't even like. Help me to grow more than people I even like. And learn to love them and like them. Understand? It's an amazing level of one's own humanity. It's easy to criticize and judge and turn your back on people and you disagree with what they believe in. All right, so what? There's enough of that crap that goes on, and just read the newspaper. All these kind of politicians that tearing each other to pieces. I mean, it's just but it's also a way to learn from these people what works and what doesn't. Love works, listening works. Tearing other people apart does nothing but create a nightmare in life. Does anyone else have a question? I just have one simple, on the 21st of this month is my daughter's birthday, and she lives in Florida now. So I'm going to be going there for about 4 or 5 days to help her celebrate her new life, her new birthday, her birthday. So I'm not sure whether there'll be class or not, if I can manage it, but there might not be. So please forgive me. I'm having to take a few days, to be with my daughter, who's living now in Florida. Probably be around the 19th from Thursday to Tuesday. Does anyone else have a question? Also, we're having a retreat coming up, and there's still space for people if you want to attend. You're welcome. I mean, these are magical weekends that people really change profoundly going through those weekends. And if you want to attend, just get in touch with Jennifer and she will be happy to tell you, all the incidentals. Does anyone else have a question? And just to finish this, the love, which is such an important word and such an important way of living, it begins with oneself. one will never be able to truly love other human beings if they're constantly beating themselves up. One has to like and love and, find one's own self-worth. And I don't mean financially. I mean through your ability to live with compassion, to live with love, to be able to serve a higher energy in the universe. Once that gets rooted inside you, you can forgive anybody for anything. I really mean it. You don't hold that in your heart. It just impedes one's own growth. Does anyone else have a question? All right, no more questions. Then there will be meditation on Tuesday. Thank you. God bless you all. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody.
Thank you very much, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
Yeah. Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome, Daniela. Be well.
Thank you.